The drowning echoes of long-lost souls, marauding pirates in a firelit town, ships cloaked in clouds of gun smoke, treacherous caves embellished with a bounty of riches. No tribute to the Disney parks would be complete without a close look at the one attraction that conjures up this swashbuckling imagery: Pirates of the Caribbean. That said, prepare yourself as we batten down the hatches, weigh anchor, raise the sails, and hoist the colors as we take a gander at this quintessential piece of Disneyana. Disney's fabled adventure across the high seas first started at the site of a former orange grove in Anaheim, California. Walt Disney's original plans called for a walk-through museum with pirates being represented by motionless wax figures positioned on detailed sets. Walt had one of his veteran animators, Marc Davis, research the history of piracy in the 18th and 19th centuries. As instructed, Davis analyzed individual pirate legends and seafaring folklore, such as Davy Jones, Blackbeard, Long John Silver, Sir Henry Morgan, Sean Lafitte, and William Kidd. From there, Davis drew up conceptual drawings for the attraction's characters and scenes. The walk-through museum idea underwent numerous alterations until Walt was satisfied with the final look. As the attraction was revised, Walt and the Imagineers at WED Enterprises turned their attention to a bigger project: the 1964 World's Fair. Walt had made partnerships with other major American corporations to develop high-quality attractions for the fair. Walt's personal involvement with the fair came with its own reasons. He wanted to use his fair attractions as an opportunity to showcase his audio-animatronic technology. Audio-animatronics, or AAs, are robotic figures used to imitate natural movements through motion in conjunction with dialogue and sound. Disney's pioneering of the technology is considered to be one of Walt's lasting legacies, as AAs are still being used in the theme parks to this day. The fair's Disney-designed attractions included Progress Land, Magic Skyway, and the now iconic It's a Small World, all of which have components that continue to exist in the parks today. The People Mover, the Carousel of Progress, and Ellen's Energy Adventure are just some examples that owe their existence to these attractions from the 1964 World's Fair. The most pivotal attraction of all, however, was the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln show, which was included in the fair as a personal request from the fair's developer, Robert Moses. The show required an audio animatronic of Abraham Lincoln to speak and move as if he were giving a speech in front of a live audience. Despite a technical misfortune with the figure during one of the performances, guests were amazed by the realism of Mr. Lincoln, and Walt was eager from the praise the attraction was receiving. After the success of the Lincoln AA at the World's Fair and the already implemented AAs at the Enchanted Tiki Room and Jungle Cruise attractions, Walt decided that his audio animatronic technology was advanced enough for what the pirate attraction demanded. After telling Marc Davis of his plans, the Wax Museum idea was axed and the attraction was redesigned into an indoor boat ride, much like the design created for It's a Small World. In 1961, construction began on New Orleans Square, a newly themed land spanning 3 acres and the first land to open since Disneyland's debut 6 years prior. New Orleans Square, which cost an estimated $18 million, more than the original Louisiana purchase cost the United States government in 1803, included 2 attractions in the works: the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. After the first phase of the attraction was constructed underneath New Orleans Square, the Imagineers discovered that the passage of the boat channel was too narrow to allow the current ride design to be practical, and that the only way of fixing the problem would be by drastically reducing the size of the show area. Walt, however, wanted to maintain the show's integral sequences, so he figured that a secondary building would have to be built outside the park's berm in order to house the majority of the attraction. Imagineers then had to rearrange the designs for the first building to accommodate the change. The 2 buildings would then be connected via tunnel designed to be the cavernous grotto that guests encounter near the start of the ride. Construction continued smoothly with the attraction, with sculptors designing the over 100 audio-animatronic figures that would populate the ride, while Xavier Atencio and George Bruns were tasked to write and compose respectively Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me, the attraction's theme song. Little by little, Pirates of the Caribbean was coming to life. However, as the attraction grew nearer to completion, the Imagineers were stricken with a devastating loss. On December 15, 1966, at the age of 65, Walt Disney died of lung cancer. He would not see the attraction in its finished form. On a gloomy day on March 18, 1967, Pirates of the Caribbean debuted to the public. The opening was a complete spectacle, with pirates arriving from the rivers of America on the sailing ship Columbia. The pirates then pillaged New Orleans Square and plundered the area leading up to the attraction, rifling and looting along the way, until finally, without giving a hoot, they broke down the attraction's doors to the awaiting public. The attraction quickly became one of the park's staples, and thus, when the Magic Kingdom Park opened at Walt Disney World in 1971, it was only fitting to duplicate the experience there. The second version of the ride opened in Florida on December 15, 1973. The ride received 2 subsequent incarnations at Tokyo Disneyland on April 15, 1983, and Disneyland Paris on April 12, 1992. Nearly a decade later, something happened that would change the fate of the attraction forever. Directed by Gore Verbinski, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, and starring Johnny Depp, Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, and Geoffrey Rush, Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl was released to wide acclaim and commercial success on July 9, 2003. Inspired by the attraction, the film received 5 Academy Award nominations, including Best Actor for Depp, and was followed by 4 sequels. The success of the film series then came back around and re-inspired the attraction it was based on. The attractions in California, Florida, and Tokyo were refurbished with the addition of characters, music, and other thematic elements from the film series, alongside the original ride features. For example, the old pirate that controlled the Wicked Wench ship in the battle scene was replaced with an AA of Geoffrey Rush's character, Hector Barbossa. Captain Jack Sparrow was added throughout the course of the ride, doing his best attempts at avoiding capture. Also, special effects, state-of-the-art lighting, and projections of Davy Jones and Blackbeard were added into the ride. The Paris version was left untouched. On June 16, 2016, the very same day that Shanghai Disneyland opened to the world, the park debuted a revolutionary attraction that brought Pirates of the Caribbean into the 21st century, reaching beyond the scope of its predecessors. Tucked within the first pirate-themed land to exist at a Disney theme park, Pirates of the Caribbean: Battle for the Sunken Treasure uses practical sets, computer-generated imagery, audio animatronics, projections, and other advanced special effects to transport guests on a captivating sensory experience within the world of Pirates of the Caribbean. Disneyland's version is found in the park's New Orleans Square district, so naturally, guests embark on their journey in the middle of a Louisiana bayou. Upon boarding the boat, guests travel past worn-down houseboats to the left and the Blue Bayou restaurant to the right. The passengers are taken underneath an archway, being warned of their journey by a talking skull and crossbones. As the boat passes under the archway, the sound of a waterfall is heard, and suddenly the boat plunges down a 54-foot-long drop into a dark cavern. The boat then descends again, a smaller 37-foot drop, and guests begin to encounter the remains of dead pirates scattered about. A cloud of mist appears with the face of either Davy Jones or Blackbeard, asking the passengers as to whether they are brave enough to face the perils ahead. The boat then enters a lagoon where a battle scene is occurring between the Wicked Wench ship, led by Captain Hector Barbosa, against the forces of a nearby fortress. The boat then enters a populated cove as guests reach the village of Puerto Dorado on Isla Tesoro, which is being ransacked and pillaged by pirates. Guests witness a menagerie of pirate characters, including Captain Jack Sparrow, as they travel down the town's waterways. As the boat travels deeper into the town, guests are exposed to the acts of a few inebriated pirates who are threatening to inadvertently destroy the village by igniting the explosives around them. After leaving that scene, the boat then descends up a waterfall and arrives in the unloading zone. The attraction at Magic Kingdom is located in the park's Adventureland section, inside a building inspired by Castillo de San Felipe del Morro. Instead of the Blue Bayou restaurant, this version replaces it with the Pirates Cove, which transitions into the scene in the grotto. After the boat drops down the waterfall, which it only does once instead of twice, the remainder of the ride is similar to Disneyland's, with the exception of the Drunken Pirates finale. When the ride is over, however, riders don't return to ground level when unloading. Instead, after leaving the boat, guests exit the attraction by a moving floor platform. The Tokyo version is exactly identical to that of Disneyland's, with the exception of the second drop. The Paris version is unique in that it is the only version not to feature characters from the film series. This version has the boats explore a bit more of the fortress that is under siege. Guests leave the fortress and drop into the village by waterfall. The town scenes are then similar to the original version. When the boat enters the arsenal scene, an onboard photo is taken of the passengers, the first for any of the attractions, and the boat drops a second time, drifts through the grotto sequence, and arrives at the unloading zone. Despite the many differences in all of the attractions, Pirates of the Caribbean is arguably one of the greatest Disney attractions ever to exist. As a product of Walt Disney's profound imagination, the attraction righteously earns the distinction of being his swan song. From reviving a bygone era in history to inspiring a Hollywood film franchise, Pirates of the Caribbean, much like the replicas of wealth it boasts within its walls, is a true piece of unquantifiable treasure.
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. We kindle and char and flame and light, drink up the hearty yo ho. We burn up the city, we're really a fright, drink up the hearty yo ho. We're rascals, scoundrels, villains and knaves, drink up the hearty yo ho. We're devils and wenches, really bad eggs, drink up the hearty yo ho. Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. We're beggars and blighters and ne'er-do-well cats, drink up the hearty yo ho. I was bred up by our mommies and dads, drink up the hearty yo ho.